When you're running out of luck, need to get unstuck, so go off. When you're up against the wall and you cannot fall, so go off, go off, go off, go off.
Welcome to round number 2 of the SRAM Downhill Southeast here in Windrock Bike Park in Oliver Springs, Tennessee. I'm Will Washam. When I get on the mic, you know me as Trail Will, and we can't wait to go racing under some gorgeous conditions here at Windrock. We're excited to be back here at Windrock Bike Park, the home of Downhill Southeast. We've had a race here every year since 2016 when we kicked this series off, and we've got a brand new track for this race. The crew here at Windrock always mixes it up, and we're going to be racing on parts of the classic Snake Rock Trail, the oldest downhill trail here in the bike park, as well as the Caveman Trail, and then finishing on the Spine and the Red Bull Ravine. When Downhill Southeast was here in Windrock in 2021, it was Nico Mullally who came out on top, with Seth Stevens in second and Owen Witcher in third. Nico unfortunately is not able to race this weekend, but Seth Stevens will be on the start line trying to better that second place position up to a win. But Seth will have to contend with the likes of Aaron Gwin, the most successful American downhill racer of all time. Gwin will be towing the start line on Sunday, along with Damon Sidevie, Windrock Bike Park crew member, who is absolutely flying out here on the racetrack. When we look back on our pro women's results from the 2021 race here in Windrock, it was Caroline Washam that came out on top, with Caitlin Farmer in second. Washam will not be on the start line this year, so Caitlin Farmer looking to see if she can step to that top spot, but she'll have to contend with the up-and-coming youngster, Xana Logar out of West Virginia, as well as Abigail Ronka, who are our second and third place finishers at the Trials Training Center. Well, racers have been loving this track layout for the Downhill Southeast Pro Track, and we've got Sean Leader from Windrock Bike Park. We're going to sit down with Sean and talk a little bit about how the park came to be and what the crew did to get this track ready. Well, we are here with Sean Leader of Windrock Bike Park. Sean, we're getting ready to kick off round number 2 of the 2022 SRAM Downhill Southeast. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to have you. We always enjoy Downhill Southeast coming back to Windrock Bike Park. This is year number 7 for us. I think we've done every single year now. Excited for it.
Yeah, I like to say that Windrock Bike Park is the home of Downhill Southeast. It's the only venue that we've had a race each of the 7 seasons. So what is Windrock Park in general? Because we're just really on a small portion of this entire property.
Windrock Park is the biggest privately owned off-road facility in the country. It's 80,000 acres of off-road heaven, side-by-sides, dirt bikes, quads. We've got a shooting range, campgrounds. It's got it all. If you're into off-road sports, this is the place to be.
Yeah, I've always had such good times here at the races and love watching the locals come up and all their various off-road machines to tackle the beast that is Windrock.
This is a place to test your equipment, every bit of it.
Well, you've been a part of Windrock Bike Park from the beginning, but for about the last 4 years, you've kind of been the sole proprietor. Yourself and Nico Mullally started up this venture, but you've really put your own stamp on the place. So how has the park evolved, the trails and the events in the past few years?
It's never stopped the same progression that we had from day one. It's built by riders for riders, and we're race oriented. We provide the trails that are needed to get to the races. So from every step of intermediate trails, beginner trails, they're all geared towards building good downhill racers, good enduro racers.
Well, and over the years we've had a myriad of different tracks, from the Downhill Southeast races and then the numerous Pro GRTs and Tennessee Nationals. Tell us about the track this weekend and kind of your thought process for setting up a Downhill Southeast racetrack versus some of the other races that come here.
There are 2 different mentalities of track layout and just general growth of an event. For Tennessee National, we've always focused on using one track, and it has variations that grow and change, but for the most part, it's one track that develops history year after year after year. And that gives us opportunity at Downhill Southeast to utilize some of our other really good tracks here. And so for Downhill Southeast, every year we give a new track. we can bring in new sections, we can bring in old sections, and it really allows us to utilize the whole mountain through the season. Two different styles of racing, and you know, I really like both.
Well, speaking of styles of racing, you've got a history in racing in multiple disciplines. How do you bring your experiences from some of those other races and racetracks that you've been to back to Windrock when you put on a race?
I've been fortunate to travel a lot, and I've raced a lot of different disciplines. The best in everything I've seen, I try to bring back here to Windrock. The experiences that I've had in those places is really what shaped Windrock to what it is today. And I continue to try and go to new races and new venues and learn from what other people are doing. But we got everything you need here to have the best races in the world. So it's really just up to us to figure out how to put them on.
What's the best thing about the terrain at Windrock for making a racetrack, and then what's also the hardest challenge with the terrain at Windrock for making a racetrack?
This mountain is steep. There's not a lot of opportunity to slow things down and build big jump features. It's on you top to bottom, and there's not really any way about that. We work with what we have, and it might help build riders to be comfortable on these big steep World Cup tracks, but it might not be the best place to come out to learn how to ride like big flow trails and big jumps.
Well, with this particular track, we're on Snake Rock. We're also doing some Caveman, back to Snake Rock, and then of course the classic finish on the Spine and the Red Bull Ravine. What kind of rider do you think this track favors?
I think this track is about big compressions. It has a lot of tight spots into heavy compressions. So it's going to favor a rider who is analyzing their bike setup really well, is strong, and can stay strong through all those big compressions.
Nice. Well, we certainly have a stacked crew of riders here, including five-time World Cup overall champion Aaron Gwin. So I'm excited to see racing get underway. Thank you so much, Sean, for putting together the tracks this weekend.
Yeah, thank you, Will. Appreciate it.
Let's take a look at the track here at Windrock Bike Park. You can see Windrock Mountain looming there in the background at 3,000 feet of elevation. Used to be a little bit higher before the coal mining operation. And you can see the bike park nestled amongst 80,000 acres of the off-road park here in Windrock. Two splits as riders make their way down the course, and once they cross split number 2, it is full on down the Spine to the Red Bull Ravine and the finish line. Well, it's always a pleasure to have Aaron Gwin on the start list at a race here in the United States, and he's with us at Downhill Southeast this weekend in Windrock. So we're going to sit down with him, see how intense factory racing is shaping up this year, and how Aaron's getting on with the tracks here at Downhill Southeast.
First one ever. We've done the Tennessee National the last 2 years, and I've done a bunch of other nationals on the East Coast throughout my career, but never one of these. So which is funny because I was teammates with Nico for a long time, neighbors with Logan now, and hang out with those boys a lot, and never been to one of their races. So really excited to be here, and I think now that we're on the East Coast full time, I think we'll be doing a lot more in the future. So I love these types of local races. It's a little more relaxed. You've got all your friends out here, everybody's just riding, having a good time. So this is about as good as it gets, man. As bikes have kind of developed and there's been more options available for younger kids, it's crazy to see like the amount of young kids getting into downhill racing now and how fast they are at a young age. I started racing BMX at like 4. So seeing these little kids out here just ripping. Logan and I were on the side of the track yesterday, and this little kid came ripping by the rock garden, like on like the pro line, all that stuff. He was probably like 12 maybe, and it's cool to see. I dig it for sure. It's gonna be pretty interesting to see what those kids are like when they get to be 16. They're just in this competitive like atmosphere with each other, being able to have races like this to develop. I think for the American racing scene, it's kind of like one of the most important things that we need to keep kind of producing World Cup guys at the top level. Being in the position now to be able to maybe inspire younger kids and show them that you can have like a legit career racing a downhill bike. If you're successful, you can do it for a living and potentially retire when you're done racing. I think being able to take downhill into that sort of level, and for a race series like this to be able to help kids kind of start that out and have like programs and stuff like the Gravity Academy and different things that are here kind of helping young kids, I think it's awesome, man. I hope we can kind of keep building it. But I think really having a race series like this is kind of the foundation to everything, because if you're not able to be at races and competing and like really working on your skill, it's hard to do. So having a series like this, I think, is pretty key for those kids. Yeah, so this will be my 4th year running, owning, and operating the Intense Factory Racing team for Intense. This year, we've had some big changes within the team. We've added 2 more riders, Joe Breeden out of the UK and Dakota Norton, who lives right down the street here. So we've bumped up to a 4-rider team with Seth and I remaining on the team. We've had a couple of new sponsors come in with V Tires, Smania Saddles, and a couple other brands like that. And we've got a whole new bike we've been prototyping. We'll be racing this weekend, and just it's been really good, man. It's been a fun process to kind of help try to get Intense back to the top of the downhill racing game. We've really, I feel like, made a lot of progress in a lot of ways over the off season. I think that'll really start to show later in the year as we get a little more time with some things. But yeah, it's just been fun, man. We got a really cool group of people, and I think we just got back from France a couple days ago, and I was telling the guys, I'm like, I don't think I've ever enjoyed my racing, riding, and hanging with the team as much as I do now, like over my whole career. We've got a really cool group of people, and I'm just hoping we can really get the results as we get deeper into the season. When I came out for the National here last year, it was really an eye-opener to how cool the scene was here. Like, there's a lot of fast guys between Dakota and Nico and Luca and all these guys that were riding and training out here. I really just love the vibe of riding and hanging out. The tracks here are really good. Just kind of everything that I was kind of looking for to try to make a little bit of progress. So between being able to ride here and then obviously have Dakota, who's always riding at top World Cup speed, and him and I becoming good friends now and being able to kind of ride and train together, both on the downhill bike and like in the gym, and like when we're doing intervals and stuff. We're going to be out doing sprints on Monday right after this race is over. It's just cool, man. I think it'll help both of us be able to really push each other and to kind of ride at that top level now. I think in some ways, I don't know that you really need it, but I think it's, if you can get kind of that dynamic, I think it's super helpful. So I'm stoked to be riding and working with him.
It's race day morning here at Windrock. The sun is shining and racers are frothing. Seating went down yesterday with primo dirt conditions. It was Rochelle Peugeot on top out of Brevard, North Carolina with a 3:04.92. But look who was lurking in second place, just 2 seconds off the pace of Peugeot. It's Caitlin Farmer out of Atlanta, Georgia. Lily Driver seated in third with a 3:22, and Emily Harris along with Alana Casey rounding out the top 5. Well, this is Abigail Ronka from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. She is our hot seat rider right now. Came down early in the order, had a bit of a problem in seating, left her with some twisted handlebars, so it took her time getting down. But she's put up a great time, so let's take a look at the run. Ronka, only 16 years of age, and she was third at our first round at the Trials Training Center. Obviously feeling very comfortable here on the steeper top sections at Windrock. She's coming into the Snake Rock Rock Garden, one of the oldest sections of downhill track on the mountain. Relatively flat in here, as you can see, so Ronka keeping her speed together nicely. Now transferring into some of these steep and deep chutes. You can see we haven't seen a drop of moisture all weekend. Conditions have been getting good, so I'll be interested to see if times come down from seating. It's a 1:17 right there for Ronka as she just dives into that right-hander. So feeling very comfortable on her bike today, able to let it dance underneath her. Ronka looking good down here as well. It's wide open. Speed is given to you in spades. It's up to the rider as to how they can control that speed. Typically see a lot of mistakes in these dusty conditions, and Ronka doing well to hold this together. Looks like a pretty smooth run. Split number 2 then, it's a 2:19.31. And into the big jumps here at the Red Bull Ravine. Our top seating time was a 3:04.92 from Shell Peugeot, and Ronka, wow, 3:07.94. So that was actually just outside the time of Caitlin Farmer. As we move on to Emily Harris out of Rocklin, California. Harris has been doing tons of downhill racing all over the United States. Also made her way out to Snowshoe for the World Cup. So great to see the top talent in downhill coalescing at Windrock Bike Park for round number 2 of the SRAM Downhill Southeast as Harris gets into these turns coming into the pivotal rock garden. Good pace coming in for, oh no, offline for Harris. On the wrong side of that tree, so a curveball getting thrown to Harris in her race run. Can she recover from that? Always so hard to get back to it when you miss a line, but plenty of track left between Harris and the finish line. As this track takes a turn for strictly gravity fed after that flatter rock garden. Harris still getting a little bit of wild there. And 6.42 back. We do have to remember Abigail Ronka just put down a great run that would have been 3rd in seeding yesterday. So Harris coming into these classic snake rock turns, making her way to split number 2. Couple technical pieces here. We've raced this section many a time in the past 6 seasons. This is our 7th season at Downhill Southeast.
There you go. Hit it. Oh, yeah. Oh, she's moving. Super slow.
Harris will come up to split number 2 and lost just a bit more time. So now it's 8.9 back for Emily Harris. Into the Red Bull Ravine. What will the time tell for Harris? She's up and over the step up. See that course tape waving a little bit in the wind, and it's a 3:19. 11 seconds back on our hot seat time by Abigail Ronka. Well, look at that. Lily Driver from Taylor, South Carolina, flying the Gravity Academy colors. Lily Driver on course. Driver has been racing her bike all over so far in this young season, doing some enduro, also doing some downhill. Unfortunately, was not able to make the start for the Trials Training Center Downhill Southeast, but she is back in action here. We'll see what kind of rhythm she can put together through the rock garden. And yes, getting that line there between the rock and the tree, that's where Harris lost so much time. And there is Driver. She's going to drop into the steeper middle portions of the track. Tight right-hand turn there. Such technical bits. You know, a little bit different than some of the tracks you'll see later in Downhill Southeast. It's 5.76 back then for Driver. Got a little hung up in that right-hander. Took a couple pedals to get back up to pace. Gravity will help you get right back to pace as well. Not much pedaling here on the track at Windrock. Driver coming into these bottom snake rock turns. A few different line options. Now these turns have kind of developed over the past couple of years and kind of opened up a little bit. Used to be a bit tighter. You've got to get on the brakes a little bit before this right-hander to left-hander. Some more key turns here to carry speed as they make their way to split 2. Yeah, you try to carry all your speed out of there as Driver's on the pedals, so 11.04 back, 225.07 at split number 2. Driver working through those whoops into the big rock drop. Such an iconic section here at Windrock. So what can Driver do to that time of Abigail Ronka as she's up and over the step up, and Lily Driver crosses the line with a 3:18.98. That's going to be 11 seconds back of our hot seat time. As we look to Caitlin Farmer from Atlanta, Georgia, had a 3:07 in qualifying. That qualifying time faster than our current hot seat time out of Abigail Ronka. Caitlin Farmer has been building the past couple years, getting more and more experience riding downhill, and you can see the paces there already at the top of this track. And she had a great top split in her seating run. She was actually 0.3 of a second faster than Shell Peugeot. As Farmer comes into this rock garden, that BMX background going to pay some dividends, trying to pump the bike, keep speed here through these square edges. Clean run right there for Farmer. Farmer diving head first into the steeps and getting a bit out of sorts, but eyes ahead. What will split one tell us? Oh, it's big. It's 7.51 into the green as Farmer. Oh my goodness, loses both the feet but doesn't lose much time there. It's a great thing about a steep track. You can make a mistake, get right back up to pace. Really won't have hurt her in these sections right here because she's already back on it. Farmer obviously pushing here in the race run. Knows she needs to make up a couple seconds. And that time that Shell Peugeot put down was a 3:04.92. So we'll keep that in the back of our minds as we watch Farmer come into these final turns of Snake Rock. You've got a link back-to-back turns. Plenty of chunk to contend with as well. So can Farmer carry some good speed into split two? Big flat section right here. So a couple pedal strokes for Farmer. And it's 7.7 into the green. 2:11 for Farmer. So there's a pump, a double-double, and she is out of that rhythm. And a huge send right there. That's going to pay bonus seconds as Farmer sprints to the line. It's a 3:04.92. That was the top time from yesterday, and it's a 2:59.76. So Farmer has just laid one down 7 seconds faster than her seating. And the last woman on track is Rochelle Peugeot out of Brevard, North Carolina. As we mentioned, a 3:04.92 for Shell in seating. She's going to have to up the ante if she wants to take down Farmer. Ooh, and Shell loose already at the top, letting that Commensal dance. Shell looking pretty steady here. She was 0.3 off the pace of Farmer up top yesterday. Cannot afford to give away time here with the smoking bottom section that Farmer just put together. Shell will know this section well. Getting a couple pedals in there. Maybe not her cleanest run through those rocks. As Shell dives into the steeps. Peugeot riding for Commensal Canada. She was over in Lourdes, France just a couple weeks ago for the opening round of the World Cup, so no stranger to steep gnarly terrain, and it is in touch, just 0.4 back, so playing out very similar to how seating played out yesterday, just about the same differential between Peugeot and Farmer. What can Shell put together here between split 1 and 2? Definitely terrain she is familiar with, been putting in the runs here at Windrock Bike Park. Is one of her main training grounds for her international downhill competition. Shell keeping it tidy, trying not to override in these dry conditions. Could definitely catch you out. Plenty of opportunities for mistakes here. And Shell is on the gas, but she's lost more time. Nearly a second then, 1.25 back. It's a pump double-double for Shell as well. So 1.25, that is going to be a big gap to make up on Farmer, who's very quick through this Red Bull Ravine section. Shell goes big there. Will it be enough to unseat Farmer? No, it will not. 1.25 back for Shell Peugeot, so it's going to be Caitlin Farmer. Caitlin Farmer with her first win at Downhill Southeast, and look at the exclamation on her face. Well, congratulations to Caitlin Farmer taking the win here at round number 2 of the SRAM Downhill Southeast. Shell Peugeot in second with a 3:01.01, and Abigail Ronca rounding out our podium in third with a 3:07.94. Here are the results from seeding for our pro men from Saturday. and it was Aaron Gwin from Intense Factory Racing on top with a 222.74, 6 seconds up on Max Beaupre, who's been on a tear this year in enduro races across the Southeast. Seth Stevens, our second place finisher from the 2021 Downhill Southeast at Windrock, was right there with Max, just 0.16 off second. Dylan Crane in fourth, and Brian Cahal out of Folsom, California, rounding out the top 5. Well, our top time right now is David Kahn out of Putnam Valley, New York. It was a 236.09. Kahn, a veteran of the gravity racing scene, been out here doing it in downhill and enduro for quite a few years. Look at that enduro bike, just loving the tight turns at the top. You get a great mix of conditions. Speaking of conditions, Kahn has been riding in all of them this year. He was at round number 1 at Trials Training Center competing in the Single Crown Open class, but has moved up to Pro Men. Trying to get some fast laps under his belt as he works towards competing on the Enduro World Series this year. So a great seating time. Again, it was a 236.09, and we're going to see quite a few quick folks on single crown bikes today. Under a minute through the first split. You can see the dust starting to come to the surface here in the Windrock Bike Park dirt. There are not many hero dirt days here at Windrock. You get a lot of mud days, and then real quickly as the summer gets dry and hot, you get a lot of dust days. But these are some great conditions this weekend.
Yeah, boy.
You see Kahn soaking up those compressions, hopping over a compression right there. That's really been a buzzword in the pits, has been compressions on this track. So 149 was split 2 for Kahn. After you get through all those technical compressions, then it is time to open it up. It's the classic spine section. And of course the whoops rhythm, a little double, triple out for Kahn. One of 3 Kahn family members in the pro ranks this weekend. Well, Kahn with a great run here. He is in the hot seat, a 232.27. As we go to Jack Peterson out of Silverthorne, Colorado. Peterson was first in the single crown class at the Tennessee National. He is also a recent transplant to East Tennessee, where he is living and training. We'll see how that training is paid off for Peterson.
Got it.
We'll be keeping an eye on this section all race long. It's relatively flat in here as Peterson just picking the bike up, putting it down where he wants. Opting to go around that rock drop. I like the move. Save a little bit of energy, trying to get some backside and accelerate out of that section. Peterson hard on the brakes right there with an inside line. And he's 0.56 back with Kahn there at split 1. So Kahn really put something together up top. As Peterson presses on, getting a little bit wild right there. Needs to compose himself. Quite a few more big hits to go before we hit split 2.
Yeah, Jack.
Peterson on the move right here. Really smooth into and out of those turns. Hanging off the back and just letting that enduro bike eat. Oh, and he's on the pedals. And now he's up. It's 700ths up for Peterson. So some tight racing already in the pro men's field. Peterson going double, triple. And so the pace is there for Peterson. He was up by only 700ths at that second split. What can he do that time of Kahn? The 232 from Kahn. Peterson goes 230.35, 1.92 up on that time of David Kahn. So great ride for Jack Peterson. He's stoked. He's feeling it. Next rider is Samuel Thibault out of Bromont, Quebec. Thibault with a number of BC Cup and Eastern States Cups victories to his name. So the downhill bikes back on track after a couple enduro rigs putting down smoking times. Oh, Thibault just letting it all hang out. Conditions are continuing to deteriorate a bit here. The bottom's certainly rolling fast, but those turns up top looking a bit treacherous. Thibault with a nice rhythm through those rocks. Another rider opting to go around that rock drop. Out of Snake Rock into Cave Boy. As Thibault just lets that big bike eat, slamming into compressions. It's 1.3 up. So Thibault, you can hear him breathing heavy, working hard, getting a nice gap out of that turn. Does he have what it takes to hold on down here at the bottom? Heavy compressions, some very precise braking points. So the rider out of Bromont, Quebec, look at that big double down. Getting out of the cold and into the dust here at the rock. But no, he is 2.09 back, so something happened there for Thibault. Not able to carry that pace, had a green split at split number 1. But that is a big gap to try and make up. So nothing but white knuckling between Thibault and the finish line. He's going to have to make up over a second here. That's going to be a tall order, and he goes third. 2.9 back. So Jack Peterson has really found something in that run. So we move on to Zach Miron, who qualified with a 234.01. So Miron will need to drop 4 seconds if he wants to take over the top time from Peterson. Miron keeping it tidy up there. Trying not to throw away his race run early. Plenty of terrain left. And Miron, another rider on a single crown. These enduro bikes are running rampant at Downhill Southeast here at round number 2. As Miron with some nice double setting up. Oh, just like a little rabbit there, hippity hop. Very active on the bike. Oh, as Miron gaps down into there. Wow, Zach Miron looking extremely composed, very precise, and he's up. Oh, this is good. 0.52, it's split number 1. So Miron was third at the Enduro Southeast earlier this year. 10th at the Tennessee Nationals EWS qualifier as he is building momentum, trying to put more time into that green split number 1. Miron trying to get up into the leaderboard at a Downhill Southeast. Big hits there on the Enduro rig. Oh, and he's still in touch. 0.24 in the red now. So what can Zach do on the bottom of this track? The spine section, it's high speed, doesn't have a ton of room for separation. Oh, big stylish floaty whip right there for Miron. It was just 0.2 back at that second split. Nice backside as well on the step up. And it's second for Zach Miron. Wow, lost a second in the final split. So Jack Peterson really did something special there as we look forward to Dylan Crane out of Carbondale, Colorado. He had a 2:31 in qualifying, so just needs to drop a second to take over the hot seat. Dylan Crane knows no boundaries on his bike from desert freeride to downhill and slalom. He's on a brand new ride this year, riding that propane on SR Suntour suspension, and Crane is on the edge. Crane pressing on, putting that propane through its paces. So Crane just letting that rear end step out as needed. He is up by 1.22. Well, this is some incredible bike riding as Crane sets up wide, trying to carry as much pace as he can into the next section. Oh my goodness, the tire just burped for Crane. I hope there's still air left in there as he roofs another turn. Wow, there must be low pressure in there because Crane is rolling the bead in every single turn, but he continues to press on. Crane, one of the taller riders in the field, able to use his body suspension to compound what he has on that propane enduro rig. And he has lost time. Yep. 3.41 back. So a valiant effort for Dylan Crane. Not one that's going to land him on the top of the podium today, though. As you continue to hear that rear tire, he's just battling to keep that bead on the rim. Crane off the Red Bull drop. Not going to be his day today. But a great weekend out here. We'll see Dylan at the Sea Otter Classic in a couple weeks. 7.24 back. Here is Seth Stevens, seated in third place, just a couple tenths off of Max Beaupre. Stevens out of Danbury, North Carolina. Incredibly talented bike rider, has recently begun mixing it up in the pro downhill class. Stevens back on the downhill bike this weekend. Very smooth through those corners. So his seating time, very much in touch with the time that Peterson put down. Oh, Stevens wild right there. Do not know how he managed to miss the rock with his left shoulder. Couple pedals, he's right back up to pace. We'll see if Stevens can rein this run back in. Stevens was second here at Windrock in 2021 at the Downhill Southeast. Split one, he's up. 300ths up for Stevens. So it is a razor-thin margins as Stevens goes inside. Finished off his run with a backflip in 2021, but not sure he's going to do that this year because he is on pace for a podium result. Stevens cracking on. Barely any margin for error. It was 300ths at split number one. Stevens also the reigning world champion for cake bike racing. A little electric motocross bike. So he's been on a tear the past couple years. See a little bit of that moto background as he's just soaking up the compressions. And he's back now. Just 0.4 in it though. Stevens not one to shy away from letting it all hang out. That's what you've got to do here as you enter the Red Bull Ravine. So a double, triple out. Stevens keeping it nice and tidy over the big 40-footer as he scrubs it off the Red Bull drop. He was 4/10 back at split number two. What can Stevens do to the time of Peterson? He goes second, 0.45. So was not able to pull any time back, lost 0.05 of a second But a great ride right there for Stevens as we go to our second qualified rider, Max Beaupre out of Hendersonville, North Carolina, the number 1 plate on his bike. Beaupre is an animal. 5th at Downhill Southeast at TTC, 2nd at the Tennessee National Enduro, racking up Enduro wins everywhere he's been this season. Beaupre, no! Goes for the big double right there and pays the price. As we take another look at that, it's a trail gap right there, just tags it, trying to hold high on the off camber, and that will be it for Beaupre. Well, tough kid. We know he will be back. Great to see him mixing it up at Downhill Southeast and putting fear into the hearts of enduro racers everywhere. That brings us to our number 1 seeded rider, Aaron Gwin. Gwin with a sizable margin in seeding here for his first Downhill Southeast. On that brand new Intense bike for Intense Factory Racing. Just put it through its paces in Lord. Let's see what Gwin can do to the track here in Windrock. Loves these dusty and fast conditions. Keeping it tidy up here at the top. And into the Snake Rock Rock Garden. Oh, he is on pace right here, folks. So smooth. Even grabs a pedal. And now the track gets steep and deep. Gwin has been loving Windrock Bike Park laps this weekend, and it's 5.4 up for Gwin. Completely in control with a 5.4 second lead at split number 1. We've seen riders get wild on those turns, but Gwin, 2 tires pointed in the right direction. There are compressions there, folks, but Gwin just smoothing this track out. It is a great run here for Aaron. Rhythm through there. Quick little break point. Gwin on the inside line and ripping it there. What has he done at split number 2? It's extended. 7.49 for Gwin. Well, Gwin, one of the fastest riders in the world, the 5-time World Cup overall champ, winningest American downhill racer in history, putting on a clinic here at Windrock Bike Park for round number 2 at Downhill Southeast. And the man will not slow down a touch for this step up. Scrubbing it to the line, and Gwin will go fastest. 9.17 up. It's a 221.18 for Aaron Gwin. What a ride. It's going to be Aaron Gwin taking the win here at round number 2 of the Downhill Southeast. Jack Peterson ending up in 2nd place, and Seth Stevens rounding out our podium in 3rd.
I've been coming down here like every weekend and riding, and so I've like definitely progressed a whole lot. Having it be dry is really nice. I'm kind of tired of the mud, so I really did feel pretty good. And in my seating run, I dabbed my right foot pretty hard. And in my race run, both of my feet blew off. And there's only like a 10-second little path until you go to the steepest part of the trail. And I had no feet on there, so I was kind of scared. But I put my feet back on, and I kept going. So the rest of it, I braked too hard a little bit. Everything else was pretty good. I was stoked on it.
I expected it to be a really fun race with Nico and Logan putting everything on. We've been spending a lot of time out here riding, and I hadn't actually ridden this course really before, so it was fun to like just race and ride a totally different track. It's just cool to be kind of at a grassroots race. I'm trying to push myself a little bit because I haven't been on the clock much the last few years with injuries and stuff, and I just feel like that time's really valuable for me right now. Qualifying was solid. The track was really good yesterday, a little better than today. We have a good couple of months, I think, off now almost before the next World Cup in Scotland, so I'd definitely like to be at some more races, and after being here, it's so much fun. I'd love to do some more.
Well, after round number 2, Rochelle Peugeot will be on top of our point standings in the Pro Cat 1 Women. Total of 49 points after that 2nd place performance here at Windrock, and Caitlin Farmer, after taking the win, going to bump up into 2nd place, 5 points back on Shell. Abigail Ronka pair of third place finishes. She will see herself in third place with 42 points, with young Zana Logard just 2 points back in fourth. Victoria Zanoni and Lily Driver tied for fifth. Our Pro Men's Series overall standings after round number 2 at Windrock see Zach Muron skyrocket to the top of the point standings, 33 total points after that fourth place performance. Lucas Shaw and Aaron Gwin are tied for second place, Shaw taking the win at Trials Training Center and Gwin taking the win here at Windrock. Jake Kahn sitting in fourth with 25 points and Steve Estabrook in fifth, just 1 point back. What a race. Windrock always delivers. We had a fast and furious race day. Cannot believe what these riders just threw down. Thank you so much to our race crew, to our volunteers, the folks at Windrock for putting together the course, and of course our medical staff. We're heading to Massanutten for the next round up in Virginia, and we got a little something special cooking up for that track, so we can't wait to see you there April 29th through May 1st for round number 3 of the SRAM Downhill Southeast.